Jesus.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome inside Upon Further Reveiw podcast, the video and audio podcast that you can get anywhere you get your podcast, and also available on 1380 The Fan 100.9 FM every Wednesday night. And we are here on yet another Wednesday night. I'm Eric Dudkevich, better known as Dude, alongside the coach Shannon Griffith. Coach, welcome inside. We have hit playoff football mode, and we have seen some interesting storylines develop through week one of the high school state tournament here in Indiana.
Yeah, and we were out at New Haven, and who would have thought those two games, sectional 19, you had East Noble, New Haven, and Leo versus Southside, both Leo and East Noble pitching shutouts on Friday night. And East Noble right now, boy, looks like a team that's on a mission. Very, very going to be very tough to beat with what they do and effectiveness on how they run the football, and then their defense on top of it. Right now, they're just playing with a ton of confidence. And this game coming up this week at Leo will probably be a game to match all games in the sectional. As we said before, sectional 19 is probably one of the toughest sectionals around in terms of who's all in there. And that's even Bishop Dwengers, who, kind of held off Wayne this past Friday night, 21-10. So a lot of puzzles moving, pieces moving around. Yeah. And, DeKalb gets a big win against Angola, who came in winning two games prior to that game. They end up winning 28-21. And now we get to bring in the 5As and 6As into the fray the second week of sectionals, and everybody's on the clock, so to speak. Winner stays up, loser go home.
Yep, the time of year, and you talked about sectional 19, a big one there over the week. It was a case of just running through those scores. Bishop Dwengers knocks off Wayne 21-10. DeKalb beats Angola 28-21. Leo shuts out Southside 42-0, and then the surprise, like you mentioned, East Noble going into New Haven for our 1380 game of the week and shutting out, dominating New Haven 43-0. Two teams that just played 2 weeks ago in Kindleville, where they're again on the line of scrimmage. Kindleville or East Noble dominated that game, and then New Haven made a little bit of a run towards the end to close it to 10 points in the fourth quarter. But wow, Friday night, it was just a whole nother level for East Noble and getting that victory on the road against what was it, an 8th ranked New Haven team that only had one loss on the year, and the Bulldogs go home and the Knights move on now to play Leo.
Yeah, and Mylan Graham was in the lineup, so there's no excuse there. They had their best player available to them. New Haven looked tired. They looked like they were pretty much worn down. And we knew that depth has been a problem for them all year, but they just looked like a team that just couldn't do much of anything right. Whatever they did do right, it was negated by a penalty or a miscue, poor decisions. The first touchdown that East Noble got was on a poor decision. Throwing the football where I'm spacing the name right now. New Haven's quarterback.
Xander Brazel.
Well, Xander played tremendously. New Haven's quarterback, on the other hand,
Donovan Williams. Yeah.
Donovan Williams, made a couple, decisions that he would probably like to have back. One of them was leading to that first touchdown for East Noble, because he got hit trying to make a play, trying to throw the ball away. Ultimately ends up being a lateral. East Noble pounces on it at the 10-yard line, and 3 plays later, lo and behold, there were 88 out the gate, and it was never in doubt from that point forward.
Yeah, the New Haven Bulldogs finished with 226 total yards of offense, 139 through the air, 87 on the ground. They never find pay dirt. They never get a field goal. Turnover wise, just the one turnover with a lost fumble by New Haven in that game. But it was a long night for New Haven, giving up big plays, because on the flip side of that, you look at East Noble. Xander Brazel, 8 of 14 for 110 yards and a touchdown and no picks. And then 297 yards of rushing between 5 guys. And they were able to get in there. 2 touchdowns for Dylan Crail among that group, and then touchdown apiece for Mike Mosley and Junior Dallas Plattner. So, this time of year, Coach, you are a coach. I mean, the weather gets bad. You've played well for the, now you kind of switch gears a little bit, and you have to rely on a run game and protecting the football. And I think that was a huge key for East Noble on Friday night, that aspect of it.
Yeah, no question. I mean, they were able to run the football with effectiveness like they all have all year. Crail is a miraculous type of running back that can do a lot of different things. Luke Amstutz, I said it before, he's a very good offensive mind. Once he has what he thinks is going to work on you, you're going to see it time in and time out. And they did that for the better part of the second quarter on in the game. And, you got Reinbold that spells Crail, and that's not, they go 2 or 3 deep at the running back position. And then, of course, like I said, Xander had a really good night and did some nice things throwing the football when he needed to. And, I just think right now, like I said, I think they're playing like a team that's on a mission, and a team that, can, make a good run at it.
Yeah, and they'll move on now to face another NE8 opponent in Leo. They travel to Leo Friday night for that big game. And we'll break that down more later on in the show. But a game that Leo won earlier in the year and is on their hot streak of their own. So Coach, just to kind of set the table for the rest of the show too, a big show packed tonight. We have 3 guests again tonight as we're in sectional play. Shortly, we'll be joined by Alyx Brandewie, the head coach of the Eastside Blazers. Of course, they roll in their sectional matchup against Wabash last Friday night, getting ready for a big one against Bishop Dwengers, which will be our 1380 game of the week this coming Friday at Lewis Field. And then later on, we'll also be joined by Ethan Springer, the quarterback from Bishop Dwengers. He had a great showing on Friday night for his team as they roll over and beat Wayne in the sectional first round game there, and they move on to the sectional semis. And then we'll also be joined by Brent Kunkle, the head coach from the Bluffton Tigers. They get a big top 10 win in their 2A sectional matchup against Alexandria on the road. Game that a lot of people, just because of the geography of things and not familiar, and a team that was 8-1 and a top 10 team in Alexandria, also the Tigers, they thought maybe this could be the end of the road for Bluffton, but they went in on the road and got a big 26-14 win, and the Bluffton Tigers are still playing, Coach.
Yeah, and again, they're well coached and a team that's been there before, so this is not anything that's new to them. Going on the road like they did Friday night to Alexandria wasn't something that was foreign to them, based upon their experience a year ago getting as far as they did. So, but go on the road and get a win against a quality opponent like in Alexandria in a hostile environment, coming away with a big W to move on to the next round game. that's a very impressive win for them. And now he's got to get the 24-hour rule installed in them and making sure that they come back Monday ready to play.
Yeah, very good. So we'll break down all the sectional matchups and where everybody's playing next this coming Friday. I think, Coach, we'll go ahead and start to our first guest here, who is joining us tonight upon further review. The first-year head coach for the Eastside Blazers, Alyx Brandewie, joining us tonight. Coach, first of all, congratulations on your win Friday night against Wabash. You move now on to the sectional semifinals, and another great season for your Eastside Blazers as you come in year one.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. Friday was just, it's a round one. It's a first step. And when you look at our sectional, you know that if you're going to make any kind of noise in it, if you're going to have any success in it, at some point you're going to have to play Bishop Lures. And those are the kind of opportunities that you love as a coach, you love as a football player, because it's a chance to test yourself against somebody with a storied tradition, somebody with some history. And it's a chance to figure out, okay, how good can we be? How good are we? And we're going to get a heck of a look at that firsthand on Friday.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems like in last couple of years, Coach, you kind of touched on it. The sectional championship has really gone to either Eastside or Lures one way or another. Sometimes they've met in the championship. Sometimes it's been a sectional semifinal, as is the case here tonight. Looking ahead to this game, you come in as the new coach for Eastside. A lot of those players have played Lures in the years past. Looking at that team, what is it about Lures, particularly this year, that makes that group such a special team and a hard team to beat?
Yeah, I mean, just in the stuff that I've seen on film, they find ways to win, man. They find ways to win, and that's the kind of stuff that happens at a program that has a rich history, that has a strong tradition. Is that there's an expectation there. There's an expectation for success, and so you find ways to win. I know they probably weren't thrilled with the field conditions or a lot of things on Friday night, but they found a way to win. Right, a game that all of a sudden, somehow they were down 16-14 and probably felt like, what the heck's going on here. But because of that tradition, because of that expectation of success, they find a way to win close games. They find a way to win big games. And so, yeah, I mean, from the minute that I got hired to be the next head football coach at Eastside, I mean, this is kind of out there. This one's kind of out there on the periphery. It's something that you're going to have to cross that bridge at some point. For us right now, this year it's in round 2, and it's kind of been a date for both sides at some point during the sectional, for 4 or 5 years in a row now. I'm really fortunate that a lot of our players are kind of accustomed to playing in big games like this one, that I was able to keep a lot of the staff around. And so they're accustomed to it. That Coach Mason still works in the building. Him and I speak regularly. So just kind of having all of those other guys around that are comfortable and familiar with playing in this kind of game is absolutely a benefit to us.
Sure.
Coach,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, go ahead and talk about your win over Wabash. They're 48-7. A game that, I'm sure for most people out there, it was a game that pretty much said that you guys should beat Wabash, but like in everything, you got to line up and play them. And when you play a team that you're, better than, the biggest thing or biggest fear from a coach's perspective is if you give them any hope. And it seemed like Friday night your kids didn't give Wabash any hope.
Yeah, we were coming off a Week 9 game against Angola, where frankly, Coach, we didn't play very well. We didn't play very well in any aspect of the game. I didn't think we had a very good week of practice. I didn't think we were very good on offense, very good on defense, special teams across the board. We made a lot of mistakes that if you want to be a good football team in the postseason, you can't make. And we were really honest about that all week, that this brand of football is just simply not good enough from coaches, from players, from myself all the way down. None of it was good enough. So that definitely sharpened our focus, I think, a little bit last week, coming off a performance where we weren't our best. And then, we get the ball first to start the game, and we're able to kind of get things rolling on the ground a little bit. Lincoln Carter puts together a couple chunk runs. Wyatt Davis at quarterback has a couple runs, and kind of find some things that are going to be effective for us, that our kids are real comfortable operating and running. And when we're able to kind of just, 4, 5, 6 run plays in a row and start chewing up yards, chewing up clock, control the tempo, it allows us to play with a lot more confidence. Allows us to be pretty comfortable and kind of get rolling from there. So fortunate to kind of have that start. But to be real honest, I think that kind of bled over from the previous Friday and kind of resharpening our focus that, hey, whether we think we're better or not, we got to go out and execute. We got to go play. We got to go play, and we got to be ready to roll from the minute the ball's kicked off.
Let's talk about a couple of your big players that you have. I know Wyatt Davis being the quarterback, and that's kind of what your offense runs through him, as well as Carter, your running back, who had almost 1,200 yards in rushing. Talk about those two kids, because I know they're 1-2 in your rushing category, and you know what you expect from them each and every Friday night.
Yeah, so Wyatt's a senior. It's his first year as a starting quarterback, but we're pretty fortunate that the previous two quarterbacks at Eastside, so Carson Jacobs last year, and then obviously Laban Davis for the 3 seasons before that. They're actually both cousins for Wyatt. So kind of having that group, you see them taking pictures after the game, and it's 3 Eastside quarterbacks standing right next to each other. It's pretty cool. But taking over as a senior, and there are, I mean, it's not massive changes offensively from what Eastside's done in the past to what we're doing this year. But there's some terminology changes, there's some language changes, and he has worked extremely hard to master the offense as quickly as possible. Right? He is really comfortable with everything that we do, and then, you know, physically, he's not a real big kid. He's kind of 5'11", pretty lean, almost looks like a skinny, scrawny little kid out there. But he runs hard. And if you see him in the weight room, there's a reason that he's able to run hard. It's because he works his butt off in there too. He's a strong kid. Don't let that stature fool you. So being able to utilize him as a runner has been huge. And then Lincoln's a sophomore, and you know the thing about sophomores is who they are in week 1's probably not who they're going to be in week 10 or 11, and he has kept getting better. He had a big performance in week 1 against Woodland, and I thought, man, if this is just scratching the surface, this could be pretty fun for the next couple of years. But he runs with toughness. Again, he's a smaller kid. He's 5'7", maybe 155 pounds. But he's a wrestler, and he was a state qualifier as a wrestler last year. And he plays football with that same kind of gritty toughness, that edge. He somehow always falls forward. I don't know how a 155-pound kid falls forward that often, but he falls forward an awful lot and finds a way to get that extra yard. And then he does some stuff. He makes some cuts sometimes where he's incredibly slippery. So, you know, having kind of those two kids lead the rushing attack and lead the offense is really a heck of a testament to how hard they work in the off season, how hard they work in the weight room, because neither one of them are physically huge people, but they run with some toughness and they run with some power.
Coach Alyx Brandewie from Eastside joining us tonight on Upon Further Reveiw. Coach, your defense, another big part of it, the ability to shut down teams, in which we've seen a couple times this year. You know, I think they're sitting at 15 turnovers on the defensive side of the ball through the season. Just talk about their growth through the season, what you like best about them, and really how, you know, we talk about defense wins championships. You guys are NECC small division champs for the 5th time now, going for another sectional title in there as well. Yep. The defensive side of the ball, just talk about their maturation and really what has been good for them.
Absolutely. And maturation is probably the perfect word, because we start a bunch of young kids on defense. We start 2 sophomores at linebacker. We start 0 seniors in the secondary. We start a sophomore up front. So we really only have 3 senior starters on defense. So it has been a year of maturation. And unfortunately for us, we play Adams Central in week 2, and we turned right back around and played West Noble in week 3. And it looked like a young defense in weeks 2 and 3. And we kind of had to make a decision. Hey, let's just love these kids through this. Let's coach them hard through this. Let's keep getting better, because these kids are going to be darn good football players. We just have to get them through some of those growing pains early. And we've really started to play some of our better defense football here in the last 6 or 7 games. And you start seeing, you know, sophomores like Jake Worsler, Sam Pittman at linebacker making more plays. Now, obviously, those 3 seniors, having Dane Siebert and Joey Eck up front, having Gage Spalding as a senior linebacker, I don't want to undersell how important they've been to that maturation process and how incredibly valuable they've been to us being able to play pretty good defense for the back half of the year. Because that leadership and that experience, and being able to get guys lined up correctly has been massive for us at times, and it really shows up, in big games. It really shows up in games, like Garrett, where it's a rivalry game and it's a one-score game. It shows up in games where the lights are pretty bright sometimes for a sophomore, and we had to grow through some of that struggle together. But those three seniors and then all those young kids have really done a heck of a job over the course of the season of just getting a little bit better week in and week out.
You mentioned the young team, particularly on defense. Year one for you too. Was this the success you've seen so far? Was this anticipated for you, or coming in? You always have that first year aspect of things. Just talk about where this program is from where you got the baton from Todd Mason. You still talk to him regularly. Now it's your program, and where things are trending, and how you like to have your own stamp on things right now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get a whole ton into the expectation game, to be real honest, but you felt it, you knew it. Our kids expect to have success. Our kids expect to be able to compete to win conference championships. Our kids have expectations of being able to play in big games like the one we're going to be in this Friday. And so I wasn't going to talk them off that ledge either, right? I didn't know what we were going to be. I didn't know what we were going to look like. You go through the summer and you just keep working and you keep working, and you show up on night number one and see what you look like. And for us, night number one we win, but then weeks 2 and 3 we weren't very good. And so expectations were kind of out there, and we knew they existed. I knew they existed. And I'm not foolish enough to not act like I don't understand that Eastside's been pretty darn good for the last 4, 5, 6 years here. But our kids feel that as much as anything, and they put that pressure on themselves much more than I ever would or I ever could. They expect to play well. So as far as me putting my stamp on things, I guess kind of the conversation that I've always had with our guys all the way through is I want to be additive to what Eastside football has been. I want to make an impact on it. This isn't the Alyx Brandewie show. This is Eastside football. I want to add to it the same way that we expect our kids, right? We don't expect this to be about any one of them. And similarly, this isn't ever going to be about me. This is going to be about 55, 60 guys, coaches and players working together to try to get the job done on a Friday night.
All right. Well, excellent. Well, Coach Brandewie, thanks so much for joining us tonight on Upon Further Reveiw. The Eastside Blazers move on to the sectional semifinals in Class 2A. They travel to Bishop Dwengers. Good luck to you this Friday and the rest of the season, and congrats on the success in year one at Eastside. And I'm sure we'll talk to you down the road, Coach.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Good luck, Coach.
That was Alyx Brandewie, the head coach of the Eastside Blazers. Coach, he came in, he mentioned it, he comes in from a Manchester program that he was there, hired around the time of COVID, comes in, spent a couple years at Manchester High School, and then moves over to Eastside when Todd Mason leaves. And that team, maybe not as good as what it was when Laban Davis was, we all know that, but at the same time, a very good program still there. They keep things running smoothly, and a Class 2A program that develops the kids, continues to build on it, and they've seen a lot of success in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and he did a good job over at Manchester. When I was over there still affiliated, I wasn't coaching, of course, but but he was, the head coach over there at the high school and did a good job. Tough place, a tough place to coach. And, I thought he always, got the kids out, got them involved, well coached, fundamentally sound in what they did. And, that's what you're going to see from Eastside this Friday night against Lures, a team that's, well coached, disciplined in what they do, not going to trick you. They're going to line up and do what they've been doing since week 1 of the season. And, if Lures is better than them, then, shake their hand and congratulate them. But I do think this is a team that is going to give Lures every bit of trouble on Friday night, especially if they can continue to get the turnovers and takeaways that they've gotten on the year.
Yeah, Eastside, 207 yards rushing per game with 23 rushing touchdowns. On the passing side, 55 yards a game with 5. So we know it's going to run the ball, and Lincoln Carter is going to be the heavy dose of that. I think 4 touchdowns against Wabash on Friday night. Well, Coach, from one sectional to another, we'll also in Class 2A, we'll bring in our next guest here tonight. Joining us from the Bluffton Tigers, we have head coach Brent Kunkle joining us. Brent, Coach, congratulations on a big win Friday night. You guys are still in the sectional playoffs as well, and keep rolling along. And here you are. Thanks for joining us tonight on Upon Further Reveiw.
Yeah, appreciate you having us on. It was big win for our program Friday, going down to very talented Alexandria team. Ranked 6th in the state and had a great season. Coach Gass did a great job with his squad this year, and it was a challenge for us to go on the road and pick up a win. But happy we did. Happy we're still playing, and happy to get to talk to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. This season for you, another great year. I mean, you guys were sectional champs a year ago. Turned that page, first time in 35 years. For you guys now, the expectations, if you will, or the success you had, how do you, what has been the message all year long to find that success still, as far as navigating through this season, letting last year be last year, but building upon that to where you guys are now this year?
Yeah, that was obviously a major topic all off season for us. Winning the sectional last year for the first time in 34 years, and bringing 20 starters back off of that team. The challenge for us into the summer was, 2022 was awesome, but 2023 hasn't done anything yet. So really just kind of preached a concept and a mindset of humility. We play a really, really tough schedule. I legitimately think any team on our schedule is good enough to beat us on any given night. And, sometimes the temptation might be to try to overlook teams or things like that. But just staying in the moment, staying humble, and realizing, we want to play into November. That's a goal and an expectation that we have. But we want to take care of business in August, September, and October as well. So just having a concept and attitude of humility, trying to get better each and every day, all those fun cliche things that coaches like to say. So, but I'm really happy with our guys. We have great senior leadership. We got 16 seniors on this year's team. A lot of those guys have been starting for 2 or 3 years already. So it's a fun group to coach. And like I said, just happy that I'm continuing to do it for another week at least here.
Coach, let's talk about your game Friday night down there at Alexandria, because, that was a pretty tough test to roll out of the gates and, head on down to Alexandria down there by Muncie. But, your sectional 36 is a tough sectional. I mean, you got Eastbrook in there, of course, your two teams, Bluffton and Alexandria, and then you're going to play Bluffton here. We'll get to that here in a second. But talk a little bit about Friday night, because I think Alexandria had a pretty good quarterback that can throw it around a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they were, like I said, they had a very, very talented team. They were 8-1 in the CIC. The only loss they had all season was to 4A undefeated Mississinawa. So, they play a tough schedule. We had a couple common opponents in there that we had seen over the summer. So it's good for us to compare ourselves to them, kind of as we were prepping for them. But yeah, very talented quarterback. It's the coach's son, Coach Gass. His son was the sophomore quarterback, and he had a couple throws there in the first half where, he just put it right on kids. They have a kid, number 7. I'm terrible with names. So number 7, that kid could play at any SAC or any 8 school. He's a very, very talented kid. And we knew coming into the week that he was going to be the focal point of what we would do defensively. And our kids took that as a challenge. And like you said, it's we don't have any off weeks in our sectional. We went from the number 6 ranked team, an 8-1 team, had to go on the road. And now we host, Coach Adamson and Eastbrook, who's in the Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame coach, 300 career wins, and 17 or 18 sectional titles. So we don't get any off week in our section, which is what we want though. At this time of the year, you want to play good teams. You want to test yourself against the best teams, and if we want to get to where we have goals of getting to, we want to play good teams. So it was a fun. I can say it was fun now, right. But my wife, I think, I was a little more stressed in the stands, but it was like I said, a tremendous challenge for us. Really, really happy with our kids, happy with the way they responded, because we easily could have gone down there and folded up, and they didn't.
Talk about some of your kids, that because you got some young kids at some, key positions, but talk about Braxton. You talk about bad with names. I'm right there with you.
Well, I know my own kids. I don't know other teams. I'm going to pronounce this right, though. Betancourt.
Is that how you pronounce
Betancourt,
it?
yep.
Betancourt, your quarterback. And then is it Cooper Craig, your running back, who I think is only a freshman, right?
Yeah.
Talk about some of your kids offensively that, that you've been dependent upon all year.
Yeah, I mean, and Braxton Betancourt's our quarterback. He's been a 2-year starter for us. And really, we haven't asked him to do a whole lot throwing the football this year, but Friday was probably his best game. I mean, he was 7 for 10. He was efficient. I think he had 3 incomplete passes and 2 of them were drops. And that's what we kind of want from him. He did a lot of good things with his legs Friday night for us as well. It was, muddy, footing was off, and we didn't have any fumbled exchanges between quarterback and running backs, which in our read scheme, if you don't have those mesh points right, you can put the ball on the ground, and we didn't do that. Cooper Craig has been a tailback for us as a freshman this year, but a lot of that was because Cooper stepped in and filled a gap that was left. Our best running back, his name's Kamel Moore, and he broke his collarbone in preseason. So we just got him back 2 weeks ago. He went 26 carries for 150 yards. And then we've got a 6'3", 215-pound battering ram, Tucker Jenkins, who played running back for us some as well. He had 20 carries for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it's kind of been running back by committee. But, you mentioned Cooper. He did a fantastic job, in weeks really 1 through 8 and 9. And he still gets some spot carries there. But that's what I really like about our team is that we are a team, and it'd be easy for guys to put their heads down and pout if they're not getting the ball and things like that. But, these guys have adopted, next man up, and whatever's best for the team is what we need. You got a kid like Kamel Moore, had 26 carries, and he's coming up to me on the sideline saying, "Hey, Tucker's better in this spot. Put Tucker in." You know what I mean? That's just kind of speaks to the team and the culture that we have. So, I'm really, really proud of our guys for that mindset that they've adopted. So,
Coach Brent Kunkle from Bluffton joining us here tonight on Upon Further Reveiw. Coach, you move on to Eastbrook now. You talked about the tradition, the Hall of Fame coach. This is a really tough team, a really good team from the East Central Indiana, Marion area. And we know, looking at their stats, a team that, is going to run the football and run it a lot. Your impressions on them as you prepare for them, and really what the message this week is going to be to your guys as far as keying in another big game?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, they are going to be extremely well coached. They've been running this same offense since they were in, 3rd and 4th grade, and they've grown up doing that. So they're going to know what to do. We're not going to throw anything at them that these kids have not seen or that Coach Adamson hasn't seen, throughout his years of being a head football coach. So that's challenge number one, is preparing for a disciplined, very well-coached team. They do rely heavily on the run. There's no secret about that, but, we do too. And one of the great things that I respect most about Coach Adamson and Eastbrook is everybody in the state knows they're going to run dive and belly, and they still do it, and they have a lot of success doing it. So I admire that about them. Very talented sophomore quarterback who uses his legs really well. He's got a lot of speed, a very, very talented senior fullback who makes up the bulk of their offense. So we're going to have our hands full for sure. Their team speed, they fly around at the football defensively. It's going to present an interesting challenge for us. A little bit different than Alexandria. Alexandria was bigger up front, and had some skill kids. Eastbrook kind of looks to be fast everywhere. So it's going to be a great challenge for our kids. But like I said, one we're looking forward to and one we're embracing.
The resiliency from your group. You guys started off pretty good, hot there. I think 6-0 to start, and then hit that speed bump with Adams Central and Heritage. For your guys, the response from the team. You talked about the senior leadership to stay in it, to move on, to stay in there, and now be in the hunt again for a sectional championship coming out of ACAC play. Just talk about the resiliency of the group and just how they've continued to believe in each other.
Yeah. We had a great start to our year. You get off to a 6-0 start, and if I could go back and do one thing over, we got elevated to number 1 in the AP poll for the first time in school history, and I kind of talked about that with our team, that it was kind of a big deal, and I think that caused us to tighten up a little bit. I think we felt like we had to prove what people were saying about us, when, actuality, it doesn't really matter what anybody else says about us. But, we came to that Heritage game, and Coach Kolkman is a friend of mine, and they were well prepared for us, and they kind of took it to us early, and we're down 21-7 at the half, and easily could have folded, but we came back and tied the game with about 3-4 minutes to go, and then Kobe Meyer took over, and Kobe Meyer is a phenomenal football player for Heritage. So yeah, we come off a loss there. It's very disappointing, and it'd been real easy to roll into AC the next week, who is, one of the perennial programs in the entire state, much less the ACAC, and what Michael has done at Adams Central is what we're trying to build here at Bluffton. And it was a 10-0 game heading into the fourth quarter, and I talked to Michael, after the game, and that was only the 5th time in 3 years that AC's had to play a full game. And 2 of those are against Indy Lutheran. You know what I mean? And so I thought our kids responded, to the disappointing loss at Heritage and came out and played a great game against Adams Central. And then we ended the regular season up at Lakeland, and Lakeland was, 6-2 coming in, and Coach O'Shea has a lot of talented kids offensively there. We're able to go up there and really kind of shut them down for the most part, to build some momentum heading into Alexandria last week. So our kids are resilient, even in Alexandria. We went up right away, 6-0. It took about 5-6 minutes to score. Alexandria comes down, bang, 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 3 plays, and they score. It's real easy to kind of like, oh, here we go again. But like I said, a great group of seniors, great group of captains, who are resilient, who've seen some stuff now. So it's a fun group to coach because they believe in each other, they believe in their coaches, and it's a fun thing to be a part of.
And of course, being at a 2A school, Coach, I know you involved in the track program as well. Just seeing real quickly about that multi-sport aspect, how important that's been for Bluffton to see the track guys and the football players and continue that continuity. I think has got to really help your program.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we want our kids to do multiple things. I talk to a lot of football coaches, how they argue with the track coach. And I say, I argue with the track coach all the time. It's because it's me, you know what I mean? I look at myself in the mirror and get mad at the track coach all the time. But, I genuinely believe, our football players are the best athletes in the school, and we want them doing multiple things. Like when I meet with every kid at the end of the year, we go through like a checklist, what they do well, what they need to improve. And then the bottom question is, okay, what's your winter sport? What's your spring sport? And they need to be doing stuff. At a 2A school when your best kids, they can't be one sport kids. Dwayne Eskridge, the best athlete, that I've ever coached. He was a 3-sport kid until his junior year, and then he did football and track. He doesn't get a football scholarship without being a track athlete, so it's very, very important. And any kid, a 6A kid, if you're a football kid, if you're a skill kid at Fort Wayne Carroll, like you should be on your 4x1 team or your 4x4 team. I don't know why I'm helping Coach Dynan, but you know what I mean? But those, you got the best athletes, they should be doing multiple things. So we're always going to be about that at Bluffton. No matter where I was, I want my kids doing multiple things because I think it's just so important.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you coming on tonight and joining us. Bluffton Tigers playing Eastbrook this Friday night. That's in right. Sectional semifinal, a big one in Class 2A, hosting it down in Bluffton. So a big game down there in Bluffton. We appreciate you, Coach, coming on tonight Upon Further Reveiw. Best of luck the rest of the way, and we'll see you down the road.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me.
Good luck, Coach.
Yep, thank you.
All righty. Take care. That was Brent Kunkle, the head coach of the Bluffton Football Tigers, and a really good team, sectional champs a year ago, going for back-to-back. Hard to believe that last year was just their second sectional championship in school history, the first being 1988, and a case of for them, and so they're looking to do that again. And a really good team, really tough sectional, but like Coach mentioned, I think they've got really good leadership and really good playmakers that can get that job done in that 2A sectional, Coach.
Yeah, and he's got them, right now. These kids have been there and they've been battle tested, so they know what to expect. And they ran into Eastbrook last year and were probably an underdog in that game, and they found a way to win it. So I think they've got a chance again this year to make some strides and maybe, get themselves into a position where, they get to the regional championship game again and get a regional this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have that game coming up on Friday night, just one of the many. And Coach, we are just in time for our third and final guest of the evening. We'll move up into Class 4A, coming off a big win for the Dwenger Saints. We are joined now by quarterback Ethan Springer of the Bishop Dwengers Saints. Ethan, good evening. Thanks for joining us here on Upon Further Reveiw tonight.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being here. So, you guys, big win on Friday night against Wayne. You guys didn't play them in the regular season, but you that tough 4A sectional, you get the big victory. Talk about what this Dwenger team's been able to do kind of down the stretch in this season, picking up some big wins and carrying a little bit of momentum into the playoffs.
Yeah, we had those first two tough games that we got to start off with and just kind of see what we were made of through those two. And then throughout the rest of the season, we've been battle tested, as Coach Garrett says all the time. We've had a few comeback wins. You saw it in that sectional game, and then Homestead was probably one of our other best wins this season. So just those battle tested wins and good comeback wins.
Sure. That SAC play, we got the new schedule this year with the A division and B division, but just in general, playing in the SAC, you guys take your lumps, and play a lot of the great competitions, Snyder, Dwenger, well, you are Dwenger, Carroll, Homestead, and some crossover games too. How does that get a team like Dwenger year in and year out ready for the postseason, regardless of what you do in the regular season?
Yeah, just it tests us. Those big 6A schools, Carroll and Homestead, they're physical, and they show us what we need to improve on every week to go play in Lucas Oil in November. And the 6A schools, they're bigger, they're more physical, and then we get to come back to 4A and play our own size and see who we really are as a team.
Sure.
Yeah, Ethan, let's look at the your season overall this year. Now, you transferred back to Bishop Dwenger, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this year you had almost over 1,100 yards passing and 13 touchdown passes. So being a year away, coming back to Bishop Dwenger, how did you feel about going into this year, even though you were separated a year away from your teammates this year?
Yeah, I was excited practicing in the off season with my receivers. I was excited just seeing the plays that we were going to make. Caleb and Carter and Xavier and Owen Zimmerman, all great receivers. And when we go to the field and throw, it was just kind of a waiting game, excited to go out there and throw some touchdowns to those guys.
And and I guess this is kind of a loaded question, so I'll ask it anyway. Of all the receivers that you have to throw to, who do you like throwing to the most? Now, if I'm in there as a quarterback when I was 30 years ago, 35 years ago, maybe, I can't remember, my target would be the big 6'8" guy because he's big, tall, and I can just throw it up to him and let him go grab it. So who do you really like to target in some of your throws and stuff? And I probably know who you're going to say, but I'm going to let you go ahead and fill in the answer.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say who number one is. I think all four are my favorite, but Caleb and Carter both bring their advantages to the table. Caleb, as you said, 6'8", easy to throw to. I can overthrow him, and he's got a 10-foot reach, and he's going to go up and get it. And then Carter runs a 4.5 40, and I can launch it down the field, and he's going to run under it and go get it. So both those guys are my definitely favorite receivers.
Yeah. For you, Ethan, talk about your development as a quarterback. What have you worked on this past year, especially coming back to Dwenger and really trying an opportunity to shine a little bit more? And really, as a quarterback, what has been the biggest thing that you've really emphasized in getting better at?
Just kind of staying in the pocket, my pocket awareness, making throws from the pocket. A lot of times I like to get out on the run, and I trust my legs, and I think I can make plays on the run. But staying in the pocket and making those plays and trusting my receivers, trusting my mind, that's all developed by 7-on-7 and just kind of seeing things throughout the off season, working on my footwork. And it's definitely prepared me for this year and looking at the routes and just knowing what I'm going to do pre-snap.
Talk about this upcoming week with your sectional matchup. You know, you guys get past Wayne and all of that, and now you move on. And you know, you play DeKalb team, a team that's not in the conference, but a team that can really score a lot. Just what you, especially from the offensive side, looking at their defense, what some of the key things you'll be keying in on a little bit this week with your offense and really how to get things going against a team like DeKalb up at their place.
Yeah, they're a good physical team, man. And watching film, we definitely see the things that we can exploit. So just working throughout the week and on Friday, just getting out there and trusting our game plan and making throws to our receivers. They all have the talent to make plays, so I just have to trust them.
Absolutely.
What were some of the things on Friday? Your game against Wayne. Here's a team that, you know, has got a lot of talent and speed. And, you know, that's no secret that they're one of those teams that can turn it on in a heartbeat. And sometimes you don't even know what hit you because they're so quick and speedy. So talk about the game on Friday, kind of what went well for you guys and kind of what, you know, led to the 21-10 win over Wayne.
Yeah, those first two drives, we didn't score on them, but coming to the sideline, I talked to my coach and my receivers, and I was like, guys, we got this win. Like we can go out there and we can beat them. And that third drive, we went out there and we put a methodical 70-yard drive together, and that just gave us the confidence that like we can beat these guys. We have a really good offense. We ran the ball well. We threw the ball well that drive. It showed us what we could do. We ended it with a good rushing touchdown. We ended it with a good play. That helped us get our momentum going into halftime. And then obviously you guys know that Hail Mary play going into the halftime. Caleb caught it in the back of the end zone. And so now we're going into half up 14-10, and we're in the locker room and we're excited coming back from down 10-0. You know, there was a lot of hope kind of taken out of us, but we stayed in it and we came back.
Absolutely. And you pull out the 21-10 win over Wayne in the first round of the 4A Sectional 19 matchup. And Ethan, you guys played DeKalb this Friday. Thanks so much for joining us tonight upon further review. Best of luck the rest of the way, and we'll certainly be keeping our eye on those Bishop Dwengers Saints.
Yep. Thank you guys for having me.
All right. All righty. Ethan Springer, the quarterback from Bishop Dwenger, joining us tonight. Good to have him on as we get Dwenger represented on their show for the first time. So thank you to him. And you know, they're a good team in the playoffs, Coach. You know that. We've seen it time and time again. The SAC schedule benefits them. This is a loaded sectional. So, I mean, the real question comes down the pipe. If they get past DeKalb when they're playing at East Noble or Leo, I mean, how does going 500 in the SAC match up against an upper echelon NE8 team? And I think Dwenger is always really that standard to put out there, especially in Class 4A.
Yeah, and, you know, don't forget that East Noble actually played a couple teams from the Summit Athletic Conference this year, and, you know, I got a sense that's going to help them. But, you know, Dwengers, you know, they've got the history and tradition, you know, some of the things that take years and years to develop, and it just kind of breeds into their kids about what the expectation is. And, you know, they look at the competition. It doesn't matter who they play. You're going to get Dwengers best each and every Friday night. And, you know, they're going to have, you know, their mindset on beating this DeKalb team on Friday night, because I'm not saying that that's not going to be something that they're going to be challenged up there up in Barren Land come Friday night. And then whoever they play, if they get past DeKalb next Friday in the championship game, will be a very, very good team. Either side, whether it's Leo or East Noble, both those teams are good enough to play with a lot of SAC teams, and would probably have done pretty decently in the Summit Athletic Conference for the most part, if you really kind of put them up against some other teams. So, yeah, I mean, they've got a chance, and you know, the Carter Minix kid, he can make so many plays and turn the game on its head, and, you know, he's one of those guys that can win you a game. You know, he's got that ability in him. So there's some good games, and like we said, that sectional by far, bar none, is the best sectional around, and you're going to see some really good football. in that coming over the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Well, look, that segues into a great transition there to talk about some of the other games, particularly now, Coach, we see that Class 6A and 5A start up on their respective paths to Lucas Oil Stadium. We get Carroll, Northrop, Snyder, Northside got the bye in Class 5A, so basically a double bye, so they'll be back next week. They were already in the sectional championship, but looking at the top half of the classes here, we got some dandy of some games this coming Friday. I think you have to circle, Carroll and Warsaw from our area in sectional 2 right off the bat.
Yeah, and these two teams have met numerous times in the sectionals. I think I can't remember, it was the last time they played at Warsaw that Warsaw beat Carroll.
Yeah,
I can't remember when that was, whether that was a couple years ago or not, but that's always a tough place to go play. I mean, Carroll will have their hands full on Friday with Coach Curtis and his Warsaw Tigers. They run the wishbone 3 yards in a cloud of dust. If they're within 4 or 5 yards on fourth down, they're probably going to go for it. So it's going to depend on how well defensively Carroll plays and how soon they can get up on Warsaw to get them out of what they like to do. Because if Warsaw can stay close, stay within the striking distance, they can eat up a lot of clock, and they can keep your offense on the sideline for a long period of time, and that's never a good thing. But that's going to be one heck of a ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've played in the last, three straight sectionals. They've played each other in different rounds.
Right.
And Warsaw beat Carroll in 2020 at Warsaw 42-35. The last two, Carroll won 36-0 in the sectional championship, and then beat them 34-17 a year ago in the sectional championship. So
we had that game. We had the game last year where Carroll, of course, was doing that to about everybody they played at home.
That was, the Chargers state runner-up this past year.
The 2 years ago up there at Warsaw, that was the game that kind of went back and forth, and whoever had the ball last was going to win it. And kind of ironic that a wishbone team got in a shootout with a team that spreads it out and likes to throw it everywhere. So, again, good game. Be worth the price of admission up there at Warsaw on Friday night.
And don't sleep on Warsaw. 8-1. They win a share of the Northern Lakes Conference Championship. That came down to the final game. They beat Northridge, the other team that shared it. So it was it was a log jam at the top, kind of like the 88 in some ways, but those teams had all played each other. So Warsaw beats Northridge at home 24-10 to close out the regular season to clinch their share. Of course, Bart Curtis, been around a long time, 6 years now at Warsaw, and 33 overall, sitting at 248 wins. So he's been around a long time, and he's got his certain style of play. So it should be a fun matchup out at Warsaw between two very good ranked teams in Class 2A. Moving down to Sectional 3, 4 teams there that we keep an eye on because 2 games. We have Fishers coming to Homestead and Hamilton Southeastern coming to Northrop. So 2 teams from Noble County, 2 teams coming from Hamilton County up to Fort Wayne to play, which is the way these sectionals are drawn up in the big class. I think Northrop will have their hands full, but this Fishers Homestead game, really intriguing matchup, because this is why the SAC put the schedule in place that they did. So come tourney time, Homestead has gotten some reps against some of the big schools near Indy when Fishers comes to town.
Yeah, this is one of those games that, I think Homestead, if they're 100% and they've got everybody in their, in the healthy come Friday night, they're going to have a chance to do well against Fishers. I was trying to get some of Fishers statistics here because I think they've been running back that just, I think it's the Martin kid. I think their running back just announced that he's committed to Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. So they got a big time running back's got over 1,000 yards, and their quarterback's thrown for about 1,500 in Gorak. So, but Homestead, the key to Homestead is if they're healthy and they can do things without turning the ball over and giving themselves an equal opportunity to get the points on the board that they can, they got a chance against the Fishers. They played Carmel awful tough that first week of the season. And I don't know if Fishers played Carmel this year or not.
Yeah, it's saying here, I just clicked out of it. Hold on a minute. But yeah, they play. So Fishers is 6-3. Their losses were to Hamilton Southeastern in overtime in September, followed by Brownsburg. So basically, and then they lost to Westfield early October. So they did not play Carmel. But they beat Zionsville, beat Avon. Noblesville wins, so they play.
They play tough. They play tough conference. Yeah,
they're in the Fisher Crossroads Conference, which was won by. So they wound up finishing, middle of the pack there. So in a lot of ways, these two teams are kind of similar because they're very good teams. They're in a tough conference, and Homestead has shown they beat Snyder in overtime. They held off Lures to spoil that essay. So Homestead really kind of played the spoiler, so to speak, on both sides for outright SAC championship for Snyder or Lures. And so, this Fishers team that comes in averaging 32 points a game and giving up 19, I think Homestead's right there in it. We know that Brett Fox has found success with the running game. Michael White's an electric quarterback that can get the job done through the air and on the ground a little bit too. And Chad Zolman will have his Spartans ready, and I'm sure the Tigers Fishers will be ready as well. So
like I said, if White is 100% and, Fox will continue to do what Fox does. And, up front for Homestead, I do think they have a better offensive line than they've had in many a year there. It should be I look for it to be a good ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving down, another team that has not started play, Snyder. They got a good draw against a team like Anderson that is 2-7, struggled. They come up now because Northrop is hosting Hamilton Southeastern. Snyder will play at Wayne. There was some scenarios that played out there. Basically, by Dwenger beating Wayne, that opens Wayne, and I've confirmed that Snyder will play at Wayne, hosting Anderson. I think they take care of business there. And I know, for Coach Tippmann and crew, now you turn the page from the SAC and move on to getting as far in the tournament as you can, for sure.
Yeah, and they are in a bracket that they're very, very capable of winning. Northside. The problem with Northside is they not only had a bye last week, they got a bye this week. So that makes it very difficult to spend 2 weeks out of competition and having to come back into the fray that final round. But, isn't it about time we got Snyder their own stadium? I mean, these poor guys, they're dependent upon what else happens around them. And the reality of it is they shouldn't be in that position.
As a Snyder grad who graduated in 2004 and around the time when Snyder going to 2 state title games in 4 years or whatever, I said, winning, and they would have to play at Wayne or whatever. Part of it was because Spooler was still grass. I'd say I think Snyder's won more championships on Wayne Stadium than Wayne has, because it seemed like they would go out there, but I digress there. But yeah, so Snyder is hosting at Wayne. I think they take care of Anderson, no problem. And move on for a Northside Snyder sectional championship game next week for that. But yes, it's got to be hard for them. But it's also good for Northside in the sense that they can kind of heal some of the bumps and bruises that they have. Of course, Tay Johnson done for the year. Quickly moving on to 4A sectional 19. We talked about it quite a bit tonight. Dwenger travels to DeKalb. East Noble at Leo. That one is a huge game, a rematch. Leo won at East Noble 14-7 in the regular season. that one could go either way again. 2-7-2 NE8 co-champions team champions. Basically a coin flip in my mind.
Absolutely. And like I said, right now, East Noble's on a mission.
Columbia City hosts Mississinewa at 9-0. Very good. That's going to be a tough task. How about in 3A? West Noble at Knox, 2 9-0 teams, 2 top 10 teams in Class 3A. Knox rolls past Lakeland. West Noble with the big overtime win. They get the field goal from the freshman kicker to send them on. You talk about playoff football in the state of Indiana. That was a big win for them. West Noble has never won a sectional. Knox is a very tough team. That could be a long night for them. Garrett in 3A, sectional 27, travels to Heritage. I think they're the favorite to win there. They should move on there. The other area teams are not in that bracket anymore, so I don't have them on this list. They've all been beaten, Concordia and Norwell. So Heritage will play either Muncie Delta if they win. Suspecting they'll win. The winner of this game, I'll put it this way, between Garrett and Heritage, will play the winner of Delta and Yorktown in the championship. Then we move on. Our 1380 game of the week, Eastside at Lures. We talked about it at length earlier in the show. I think this is the 5th year or 4th year that these two teams have met, and they have won the sectional championship based off of who won this game in that one. So that will be our dandy of a game. Central Noble goes to Manchester, 2 3-6 teams, so they get the winner of that East Side Lures game for the sectional championship. We talked about Eastbrook and Bluffton, a big one down in Wells County on Friday night. And then, of course, Adams Central continues to roll at 9-0. They will go to Southwood, a down Southwood team this year that got through their sectional against Fremont. They're 4-5 on the year. A really good team through history with Dave Snyder, their coach. But I think ultimately, Coach, we can all agree you got to beat Adams Central before we can say somebody can beat Adams Central.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So we got a lot of great football on Friday night. A reminder, our 1380 game of the week, like we mentioned, is out at Lures Field for the 2A sectional 35 semifinal with Eastside and Lures. Kickoff at 7 with you and Brett Rump from 1380 The Fan. Pre-game at 6 o'clock live from Lures Field, and then the post-game at the Southgate Plaza Pizza Hut. Coach, we're desperately out of time. We've had a great show tonight. Thank you to Ethan Springer from Bishop Dwenger, Brent Kunkle from Bluffton, and also Alyx Brandewie from Eastside. Remember, you can find our podcast video version on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere you pull up your podcasts on any streaming service. And we also encore presentation of this at every Wednesday at 8 o'clock on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Go ahead and follow us on social media. Search for Upon Further Reveiw SAC. Coach, all the plugs are in. Now it's time to go to Friday night and see some great football again.
Let's do it.
All right. For Coach Shannon Griffith, I'm Eric Dudkevich. This has been Upon Further Reveiw. Enjoy your Friday night of football, and we'll see you again next week.